Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Halo 2 anniversary footage. The gameplay in the background isn't particularly applicable to what I wanted to talk about today because there's been some recent gigantic E3 announcements regarding Halo 5 and we got quite a bit of news. Maybe not as much as I would have liked personally. It was a little bit short but sweet, I would say. There was nothing in the E3 presentation that disappointed me. I was pretty much pleasantly surprised by everything I saw, but it just kind of left me wanting a little bit more. But that's perhaps a good thing, you know. You could do worse off. You know, it's better to be left wanting more than to be left in complete and utter total disappointment. And I see that, you know, as they gave us that 3-week arena multiplayer beta, or maybe it was 4-week, I think it was 4-week, we have seen quite a lot of the game already. So I understand that they want to keep their cards close to their chest. It will make it more exciting when we get it upon launch. So I totally respect their decision to do so. Regardless, I'll go over the campaign very quickly. You guys are probably aware that I'm not the biggest campaign guy, especially when it comes to Free for Free's campaign. I've never been the biggest fan of Halo 4. I was never the biggest fan of when they took the campaign in a more of a lore-centric direction. I've always been the biggest fan of the games first and foremost. You know, grew up with the campaigns and just haven't had the personal inclination. That was a little bit of a tricky word to say. The personal inclination to go seek out the lore through the books and the extended universe. It's just not been for me personally. I'm more of a campaign guy. I love Halo at a base level of, like, you know, the Master Chief goes to save the world. He goes and fudges some shit up. That's what I'm into. It gets me hype. The books themselves have never been for me personally. And I felt like I was missing out on a lot of the story of Halo 4. So, you know, when they were saying Halo 5 is taking more of a lore-centric direction and they're trying to appease all the fans, I was kind of worried that they might not be able to do that in a cohesive way. Halo 4 felt a little bit, it just felt a little bit like you needed to read the books to enjoy certain parts, and I think that's a shame considering the games are the primary form of the entertainment, and it's great for the people who did dive into that lore and did get the most out of the game. I'm not hating on you guys, I'm sure you got, but I think they could have just explained the story a little bit better to us. You know, Frozen Sword once said that maybe if they'd have even had like a little introduction to the lore to you know, get people's feet wet, it might have made it a little bit easier. Just run us through the basics, I should say. But moving into Halo 5, like, this campaign trailer definitely it kind of shattered a lot of my expectations that I had, in a good way, I should say, my preconceptions and misconceptions. It just looked really, really entertaining. I love the dynamic that they've got on team-based combat and co-op-based combat. That's always, for me personally, where the combat has shined in Halo campaigns. You know, even from the early days of Combat Evolved, where you had a partner and you ran through the mission and you would, like, abuse the teleport system and the checkpointing system to try and get through the campaign and be super cheap, and it was just hilarious when you take turns trying to, like, do some really hard mission on Legendary and then fail epically, and then your co-op buddy would come in later. That's the sort of stuff I love, and it extended on to Halo 3 when you had these crazy Warthog runs, these more open areas for you to explore and create chaos throughout. It was definitely a super enjoyable experience, and it looks like they're trying to replicate this with Halo 5, and it also has a bit of that Halo Reach vibe in it for sure. That's the main feeling I got from watching that trailer, is they were trying to connect you with these characters. They were having this ongoing dialogue, these ongoing relationships being formed, and you knew there was going to be like a bit of tension, especially between the two teams, the red team and the blue team at large. I'm just really excited to see where it goes, and you know there's going to be a ton of twists and turns in the game. The only thing I didn't like about the campaign trailer so much was seeing the what are they called, the quick time events, I guess. You know, the moments where it kind of takes you out of the action and you kind of lose control of the player. I don't really like stuff like that personally, but I did read in an interview with Frank O'Connor him saying that you know, that was just for the multiplayer trailer. You're not going to see so much, sorry, for the E3 trailer, you're not going to see so much of that in the base game. We just didn't want to spoil some of the mechanics that are coming up and some of the story elements we wanted to do to give a more guided, scripted part of the story, which I totally understand. It makes sense for E3 that they would show off that part, and it still looked amazing. You know, it still looked like fun. Even with those quick time events, it wouldn't put me off playing the game. I just hope those are kind of kept minimal, because in Halo 4 there were certain aspects of the quick time events, especially towards the later part of the game, that just did not impress me whatsoever and really took me out of the immersion. And yeah, so overall campaign I'm really optimistic for, a lot more optimistic than I was before seeing that campaign trailer. So I'm really excited to see where they go with that. And then moving on, we've got Warzone. They showed us Warzone. It was a very brief glimpse, I would say, of Warzone. But luckily for us, they ended up showing a bunch of Warzone gameplays and letting people record, which I thought was a phenomenal idea for 343 to pull off, because it's just getting people talking about the game, and people are sharing the gameplays, you know, trying to show off the best ones. Like you got Unishek with his godlike Warzone gameplays, where he pretty much pub stomps the crap out of poor, unsuspecting review people who are just awful, and it's so much fun to see. And people like Flame Sword as well, trying to kill off the bosses and get these, you know, these energy points and build up these kill streaks and get these vehicles. It seems really exciting to me personally. You know, I from time to time when I was playing Halo 4, I'm not going to lie, get a bit of a guilty pleasure in certain Ordnance matches. Obviously, a lot of the times it didn't go your way, and it was usually the random elements that super frustrated. It was like playing Mario Kart on steroids when you could get an incineration cannon out of nowhere. And the thing about this energy system that interests me is there's kind of a little bit more weighting to it. And of course, it's only featured in the Warzone playlist. It's separate from the other playlists. So I can kind of really get behind the idea. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure some of you guys have varying opinions. But as a replacement, or a temporary replacement, or at least a move in another direction, I should say, from Big Team Battle, I think it's really exciting. I think Big Team Battle for me in Halo 4 was getting a little bit stale. That's partly because of the way 343 implemented it, but I like that they're putting their own spin on things and trying to make it work in their own way. And, you know, it gives you the feeling of getting these, like, higher weapons and doing better and better without the cheapness of, like, you know, the lottery of Ordnance, where it was like, oh, you know, I got a plasma rifle even though I was doing amazing and just got, like, a 2-for-1 headshot, but then on the flip side, that guy who's got, like, freaking 0 kills happens to get a rocket launcher out of his Ordnance. It was just BS, and they seem to be alleviating that. Obviously, you've got the idea of these microtransactions, which to me, at first seemed really questionable. You know, I was like, uh-oh, like, when I first read some headline, I was like, oh no, like, please don't do this, because I thought they were going to put it in the whole game, and I didn't quite understand the ins and outs of it, but it actually seems like they're being kind of reasonable about it for the most part. You can gain access to slightly better weapons in the game, but this is only within the Warzone game type itself. It's not within the Arena multiplayer. The Arena multiplayer only features microtransactions for skins, and some of this money that you put into it will be going to HCS funds to fund the competitive circuits, which is just a tremendous idea. We've obviously seen this work tremendously well with the Dota 2 compendium, where people raise, like, I don't want to misquote it, but it was something like $11 million for the prize pool or something like that. Absolutely insane, ludicrous amounts. And it would be really exciting to see console move in that direction, because you know how console players get. They get crazy when it comes to buying stuff on their console. If they see something for a reasonable price, you best believe they'll buy it, especially if it makes them look cooler than their friends. I'm all about that personally. I will be all over microtransactions. Best believe that within the first 2 weeks I'll have some of the sickest microtransactions going, and that will have come right out of my pocket. But you know, overall it seems like they're kind of trying to take a fair approach for the most part. Obviously you can get these weapons in Warzone which are legitimately more powerful and more OP than other weapons in the selection, but I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast with Warzone. I don't think they went into this saying to themselves, you know, we want to make this the most competitive, fair version of BTB the world has ever seen. Like, no, really, they're just trying to embrace some of the chaos, and they're trying to create a platform for some of that chaos to happen that people love in Halo. You know, people love the chaos of, like, zombies in Blood Gulch, for example, or zombies in Sandtrap, I should say, where you have all these crazy settings, you have fast speed, you have chaos going on, and they're trying to, you know, tone it down from that so it doesn't feel like a custom game and it's not too ridiculous, but at the same time add in a couple of these elements that just throw a spanner in the works, and hopefully they don't go too far with that. It's one of these things where I'll have to play it to fully understand, you know, whether it's just like you walk around a corner and you just get absolutely destroyed, or whether there's some sort of sense of fairness to it and balance, and people can't just buy their way to the top of the lobby, because that would be a shame. That wouldn't be fun for anyone, even at a casual level, in my opinion. opinion. But I don't think they will. I don't think they'll go overboard. I think they'll have cooldowns, they'll have stoppages on, how much you can buy in any given game. And I think they'll go to some extent. From what I've heard, it's all speculation at this point on my part. But I'm definitely want to give them the benefit of the doubt, considering they're doing such a good job with keeping the arena multiplayer and all the fairness separate from that. So yeah, overall, like, Warzone just has me super excited. I love the idea of the AI combat going on, because a lot of people had problems with Titanfall, for example, where they couldn't differentiate the enemies between their teammates or between the enemy team, and it all got a bit fuzzy with the AI involved, and there were just so many people on the battlefield. Whereas with this, you've got like Covenant and just like clearly distinguished like members. They don't look identical to the pilots like they did in Titanfall. These are just different units of infantry, and they'll be different size and stature. And I think it'll be a lot easier to tell the difference between a Spartan. You won't run into a room and be like, wait, where's the actual guy? It won't be super confusing like that, which I'm definitely glad about. And I love the idea of like getting a team together mid-game and being like, hey dude, should we take out the boss? Because we could get some massive energy from this, which could like take us to the next level. It's very reminiscent of a MOBA, where in League of Legends you can go into the jungle and take out some massive dragon or some boss of some description and get a buff for it. It reminds me of that quite a lot, and that seems quite exciting, going into Warzone and having to have some pre-game strategy where it's like, when should we take out the boss? How much of the AI should we take out in order to get a potential foothold on the match going? And hopefully the AI is like, Halo has always done AI tremendously well. It's always been some of the most convincing. They give them like a set pattern, but the pattern is quite believable and enjoyable to fight against consistently. Not many other games have been able to pull that off in the same way that Halo has, in my opinion. So I'm willing to once again give them the benefit of the doubt and try that out and see how exciting it is. Warzone may actually be one of the first game types I try in this game, because it just has potential to be a really good time. And when I played the Halo 5 beta with a bunch of my friends, I'm not going to lie, like, a lot of people I played with were dropping off of the beta saying, this is just too frustrating. It was only ranked. That was all we got from the game, and people just needed somewhere to cool down, and they didn't have that in the beta, whereas Warzone seems the perfect game type where it's like, we've got a full team, we've got a group on Skype, we've got a call going, it's super exciting, we've got a really gigantic party, let's go into Warzone, let's not try hard in competitive. I'm not in that sort of mindset anyway, because sometimes you just get into a really bad headspace with Halo, where you start taking things too personally, you start getting too mad, and a game type like Warzone is absolutely perfect for that. And I know for a fact that Warzone will have an amazing community behind it, and some people would just gravitate straight towards that. That will be their go-to game type, and I can totally understand why, because it just looks like a really, really good time. Not impressed that the Mantis is returning, I'll tell you that much. You guys should know by now I am a massive hater of the Mantis. Not a big fan of it. It's a pretty campy vehicle, and I hope they made it less lame. I haven't actually gotten a good look at the Mantis gameplay, to be fair. Did get to see the Spartan laser at one point. Extremely thrilled with the fact that they actually buffed the cooldown on that weapon, and it might look the best that it's ever looked. I'm sure you have to be pretty darn accurate with it. It probably doesn't have the blast radius that the Spartan laser did in Halo 3, but it looks like the cooldown on actually shooting it and charging it up is so quick, which I'm just ridiculously excited about, because I missed the Spartan laser in Halo 4. It was so pathetic and measly and pitiful that it's really nice to see it make a comeback. And it's nice to see that they changed up the bolt shot. They didn't just give up on the idea. They brought it back and tried to put a new spin on it. And then also I saw a bit of the Promethean flying vehicle, which kind of is like a tank, but it's airborne. I've been saying for a very long time that I wanted a Promethean vehicle. I love the aesthetic of the Prometheans, and it just made perfect sense in a vehicle form. And I didn't really clock why they hadn't done that yet, but now they've done it, and it looks tremendous. It looks like it fits right in. In my opinion, no game does vehicles better than Halo in combat. It just seems so seamless, and it seems like they're almost just another unit which you have to outthink and you have to outplay, and it's really fun. So overall, I was impressed. I think we got a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot of potential to be had from this Halo 5 moving forward, and I hope you guys were excited by what you saw as well. I've been Modest Major. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.